we have two computers open. On the right, we have the server open, the web server, and on the left, we have the computer of the hacker open. Now, as an ethical hacker, the first step they will do is information gathering. They will scan the computer for open ports. It's like identifying possible entry points, services, or network apps running on the target machine. You might wonder, what are ports? Think of ports as like doors into the system. So that can be a web server, it can be an SSH server, or anything listening for a connection. And a port scan helps you to find these doors. So these doors can be potential ways for the hacker to take over the computer. For example, when you install a web server, it might open port 80 or port 443. When you install an FTP server, it might open port 21. And likewise, every network app might open a certain port. So before scanning, we might need a tool called mmap. You can check if that's installed. If you run mmap, you'll see we first need to install it. And they give us the command to install, so we use that command. And that tool lets you scan any computer for open ports. So it takes a moment to install, and now it's installed. Now we can verify that it works. So nmap -version, let's see if it works, and you'll see we get this output. It is now installed. So we can scan for some common ports. For example, SSH, HTTP, web port, or any other. For example, let's scan for the web port. We can say nmap -p port 80, and then the target IP address, the target computer. In this case, it was this address, and you'll see it tells us that port 80 is open. Now, let's pick a random port, say 81, and see if it's open. And we scan it, and you'll see this port is closed. So we can scan ports like this. You might also scan several ports, for example, maybe port 80 and port 22. So if the SSH port 22 and port 80, the web port. And in this case, it tells us both are open ports. So how to understand these open and closed ports? Because, for example, if you pick a random number, this port is closed. So if the port is open, then the app is running and accessible on the server computer. If it's closed, then no app is running, but the port responds. And if it's filtered, there might be some firewall is intervening. So how do we get a full range of which ports are open on the computer? Well, what we can do is type nmap, and we can do either a quick scan or a more large scan. For a quick scan, we simply type nmap followed by the network address of the server. And it will tell us which network ports are open. But it's a quick scan, so it doesn't scan all the ports. You'll see it scans around 1,000 ports by default. Now, if you want to scan more ports, there's about 65,000 of them. You can scan the entire computer for any possible port. Now, why does this matter? More ports exposed means a higher attack surface. So it might become more easy for a hacker to get into your computer the more ports you have open. So, and besides, anything you run is a potential security risk. So if, for example, there's a bug in the web server, then having the port 80 open might allow them to take over the computer. And the same, for example, weak passwords on SSH or FTP might allow them to get into your computer. So that's why the less ports you have open, the more secure the server. And so port scanning, make sure you have permission when you do it. Don't start scanning random computers on the internet. And if you want to do a more complete scan, you could say, for example, -p port 1 to 30,000, and it will then start scanning all those ports. And you'll see it just scanned 30,000 ports on this computer. Now there's about 65,000 ports, so and some might be open, some might be closed. It depends on the computer. Even desktop computers sometimes have ports open. It's not just servers. So desktop computers might have remote desktop open, or maybe shared folders. So on Windows, you can share folders that might be open. Remote desktop is sometimes enabled, and other services. So it can be a good idea even to check your local computer to see which ports are open. So you can say nmap localhost if nmap is installed on your computer, and it will tell you if any ports are open on your computer. And that's important because it can the less ports you have open, the smaller your attack surface.